Why should we give you money to buy wool?
I'm going to make you an offer.
I want to make you an offer.
I will give you all the money.
I might actually make you a better offer. Sustainability side.
If you're worried about sustainability, maybe you take yourself out.
No, not yet.
Okay, this is the first time I'm really seeing lions actually fighting for an entrepreneur. Like, who is this guy who literally got this 4 lions? Like, only one person didn't even fight for him. And I think the only reason why he didn't fight for him was, I mean, he didn't want it to turn into a battle. But guys, one entrepreneur really stood out in the episode 3 of The Lion's Den. I'm talking about the deals that went down in the episode 3. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Judici and I do reviews on reality shows in Nigeria at the moment. And if you're an entrepreneur, you're looking for a business reality show that, to get ideas into what investors are looking for in businesses, or if you're generally the kind of person who just loves to watch reality shows for fun, for entertainment, for whatever reasons, I think The Lion's Den is a big bite compared to other reality shows that just stand for entertainment. I mean, basically, guys, I love this particular reality show because it doesn't just entertain our minds, it actually empowers us with the information we need as entrepreneurs. It also does something. It kind of just makes us look at the other side of our business and say, okay, this is what we need to get fixed in it. So if you're very new to my channel, thank you so very much. Thank you for hopping in. Take this minute to hit on the red subscribe button to be a part of this conversation. And of course, don't forget to turn on the post notification bell so that you always get a lot of my video every time I share new content. Of course, a thumbs up will be appreciated as it will help this channel get more visible. Guys, let's talk about the 4 deals that went down in the den. So guys, out of these 4 entrepreneurs, the crochet business, the audiobook literacy business, the artificial stone business, and guys, the chicken business, out of these 4 entrepreneurs, only 2 entrepreneurs were able to excite the lions enough to even fight for them. Now, there was something really peculiar about this episode 3. I mean, out of the 4 entrepreneurs, I mean, 2 were just like, there was just a very loud reason why their offer was rejected. And then there was also a very loud reason why these 2 entrepreneurs were accepted, and actually were not just accepted, there was actually a battle between them, the deals, because lions were fighting each other over these 2 entrepreneurs. So I'm going to be starting with how it all went down. The first entrepreneur who came into the den, Oluwakemi, and Oluwakemi was pitching her crochet business. She actually brought a sample to the lions, and they just had a feel of what her business was all about. Anyways, she pitched her business. She talked about how much she had made so far in her business. She also talked about making a net profit of over 500,000 naira, which she said was very laudable or applaudable according to her. And she was actually asking for a 10 million naira investment into her business for 10% equity share. And the lions came at her one after the other. Now, but one of the loudest questions, because every time this entrepreneur speech, there's always the question and answer, guys. And I say the question and answer is that phase that every entrepreneur needs to be, ready for. And I think for us watching this reality show, I think this is where we have to get our writing pads down, ready, and do some jotting on what the points that we're getting here. So a lot of questions were thrown into her business, and Mrs. Adenike tried to understand what her business was all about. When she asked her what she wanted to invest the money in, if it was, to buy supplies or actually to knit, do the knitting. And then she said it was more of to supply, to bring in the materials into the company, to import it into Nigeria and to sell to people who needed the brand more. And basically, it was more like, at the end of the day, there was an understanding that her business was more of a trading business than than what the lions were looking for. Guys, at the end of this video, I probably would take my time to talk about the differences between having a business, being a business owner, and being an entrepreneur. I mean, I think there's a very significant reason why we need to understand the difference. From everything, it looks like Oluwakemi was actually making a big profit margin. Like, she had a very interesting profit margin, and all she needed was just money to invest in her business to be able to reach, you know, her market demand. And I mean, I think when Paul Owanibe said something about how much turnover did you make, how much profit margin did you make, and she said 500,000, and you know, I think they had a problem with her numbers, because 500,000 to the lions who looked at it, like it looked like it was really a little amount to call sell off. And so I think people like Bolaji had to give her the advice that what she needed actually in her business was to just go and get a loan, and maybe even at a higher percentage she was going to be able to make money, you know, because she was actually selling and she had the market for her business. One by one, the entrepreneurs skipped out of her business, like they actually withdrew from her business, because, and one of the very loud reasons why most of these entrepreneurs did not want to invest in Oluwakemi's business was because they saw the business, they said the business was not scalable, they felt the business was too small, and there was something very interesting about what Mr. Dan said. Mr. Dan said something about she needed to know her numbers, and that she needed to understand that there was something about supply and credit facilities. And basically, I think as an entrepreneur, this is one part of the business we all need to understand, because basically, if you're a business owner, you're looking to get money to import more goods into the business because you're just making profit from the margin. Guys, what if the big shots in your business, in your niche, actually have more money to invest in it? Invest more products. You also have more products, and probably decide to sell off at a very reduced margin. I mean, at the end of the day, it will affect you. So I think one of the reasons why the lions didn't see Oluwakemi's business as investable was because they felt it was just a trading business. And basically, it wasn't as if it was really solving a big problem. It was more of buy and sell. And from the things that I'm beginning to understand in this reality show in the lions is that they don't want to just invest in a trading business. They want to invest in a business that is actually solving a very strong, solving a strong need. And they talked about her audience were pretty small. I mean, she was talking about 3,000. They're like, if it was like 3 million, maybe she would have been able to buy the audience of the lions. Anyways, at the end of the day, Oluwakemi didn't get any funding for her business. And the next entrepreneur we saw come into the den was this guy, Udolu. I think I liked the name of the explanation of his business more than the branded name. So Udolu is actually a literacy, an audio literacy platform where people can actually listen to audio, books, read audio books and the rest of it. So it was like more like the Amazon kind of Audible kind of platform. But this Nigerian had a very interesting need he was solving. He said he wanted to solve the problem of language, and of course we have a lot of Nigerians who can still speak English because they're probably not learned, maybe they didn't go to school, or they don't stay in urban areas where they understand this language. So like in local languages, Udolu was actually trying to solve a problem by trying to transcribe, even though that was not even part of what they were doing, but was trying to render like a service where authors will be able to make their books in an audio version. He pitched his offer, and he was asking for 5 million naira for 10%. And guys, it was so interesting. The questions came back to back. It was really, really interesting. And then the questions actually came in. But one of the really interesting questions, again, that that Paul Owanibe asked was, he asked if it was going to be like, they were going to render transcribing services in Udolu. And he said it was something, it was an option that they were open to. And at that point, I think this dude was very smart enough to buy the conscience of the lions, because he looked at, he appeared to be vulnerable enough to be willing enough to learn from mentors like them. And so I think one of the reasons why most of these entrepreneurs get to buy into the hearts of these lions is the ability to be willing to learn from them. And so When Samuel actually is an Abuja-based person who decided to compete for his business. So he was asking for 5 million naira investment for 10% equity share, and Mr. Dan asked for the meaning of his the meaning of his name, how he got the name Udolu, and he said it was Udaolu, sound of voices. You know, it was like more like an Igbo name, and you know the concept behind his business was really, really very interesting. Though some people did not really find it interesting. Some of the lions opted out. People like Mrs. Adenike opted out. People like Kiari opted out. But Paul Owanibe saw something really, he saw a business in it. He was the first hope that Samuel had into, and then at the end of the day, he asked if it was going to have like a transcribed service, and he said they were open to it. And you know, that was what bought the heart of the lions. At the end of the day, Paul pitched and said he was going to give him all the money he needed, but he was going to place some conditions to it, and the conditions was that he would be taking 40% of the business. Of course, for him to buy over the business 24 months, 2 years later, at a reduced rate of 20%. But one of the conditions also was that he was going to be the one in charge of the governing board until, of course, he's able to pay back the loan. And then he gave an offer for Samuel to use his office space as a space for, you know, networking, working with his co-partners and the rest of it. Anyways, after Paul pitched his offer, Bolaji saw a business in it too, and Bolaji decided to pitch his offer. Now, Bolaji's offer was pretty interesting. Bolaji decided to say, okay, you know what? I'm going to give you all the money you need, but the thing is, I'm going to be taking 35% equity share. So Bolaji's condition to Samuel was that that the app must be finished before the end of 2021, and that by the time they sign up new people in the app, that he was going to be willing to give him back 10% out of the 35%, which is 25% of the company. And basically, at the end of the day, Samuel didn't even think twice about Bolaji's offer. He just grabbed it at the instant. And you know, Paul Owanibe had to, like, he felt he was being ignored. At the end of the day, it was a big round of applause for Samuel as he ended up securing all the money he wanted. He wanted 5 million naira. Though he was looking for, I mean, a smaller percentage, he had something much more higher than, but it was still a good deal because he had a free office space. He had the backing and support he needed as an entrepreneur, and that was a deal. That was a done deal. Now, the third entrepreneurs who came in was the company Broello, and they were pitching. It was a stone, like, aesthetic decorating tile business owned by two entrepreneurs, Obina and Chidera, and they were asking for 20 million naira for a 7.5% equity share. And the question and answer, as usual, Kiara asked, he said he had a problem with their valuations, that how did they have that number, and they were saying, okay, it was like a future estimation of what their company was going to be worth. And he was like, no, you have to talk about that now. Anyway, at the end of the day, Kiara excused himself. Adenike asked if that they were paying themselves, and they said no. And I think this is one of those questions where when they ask entrepreneurs, you collect a salary from your business, everybody's like, no, like, you know, trying to be all innocent. And that was when they revealed that they had a side hustle. They had another business, and that this was more like, they didn't say this one was the side hustle, but it sounded like that one was the main hustle, because when they were asked how much they had made, they said about 34 million. That was huge. They asked Obina what he did. He said he was a civil engineer. They asked Chidera, said he owned a recycling company. And the question was this company part of what they were trying to pitch? And they said no. They clearly said no, that it was different, that this was what they were pitching. At that point, I saw entrepreneurs who probably had a big plan for their business and had started a business, but were still at a very, 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 very early age. And so from that revelation, you know, Paul Owanibe came in, and they asked them the question. The question was, when did you start? I think Kiara asked that question. I can't remember who asked that question. And then he said he had started January. And guys, I mean, the Lions Den started, the auditions for this thing ended like sometime in April or so, like first quarter of 2021. And so if a business had just started like a month and then you're pitching it, I think the Lions felt like the business was too early. And Paul in particular felt like these entrepreneurs had not done their homework. They felt like they had not even invested their money, because if they had a business they had made about 34 million, they would have been able to invest more of that business, of the money they had made from that business into this business, if they really knew it was going to be that big, and maybe presented it at a future date, with of course more tangible statistics. Because when they were asked how much they had made, they said about 1.5 million, which is actually very reasonable comparing the time the business had started. And they asked, I think Bolaji asked their turnover, they said about 600,000, which was quite reasonable for a business that just started within the first 4 months, But at the end of the day, Paul gave the very, very loud reason why he was not going to invest in, and he said they were pitching their side hustle, and he doesn't invest in side hustle. That if it was the main thing, he would have pitched it. And at the end of the day, Mr. Dan also came in by also stating that they had not done their homework, that the business was too early, was in an early stage, and that they came without boots, and he was not investing. So 5 lions opted out of this beautiful business that looked like it had a very big and should have a very high, it should have a high tendency of getting dragged or, accepted by these lions. But these lions clearly decided not to, because I think one of the reasons why nobody wanted to invest in this business was because they had started too early. So they felt like it was too early. It was not investable because their numbers were not, they didn't know, they had not discovered what their numbers really were. It was more of an estimation and projection. And people like Paul felt like they had not invested enough into their own business before trying to get other people to invest in their business. And there were so many reasons why these lions didn't want to invest, but the loudest reason was this thing they said at the end of their presentation.
I can't invest in a side hustle.
Only people who would invest at this stage is the 3 Fs: family, friends,
fools. Yes, which is why.
I mean, they said for a business that starts too early, there are only 3 people that can invest in the business: family, friends, and fools. Guys, if there's anything to learn from that, I think this is a very big take-home point, that don't pitch a business if it's too early. And basically, of course, the reason why they had to say this was because they felt like the business was a side hustle and not a main hustle. I feel like these entrepreneurs would have had a very high chances of getting a deal if they were not too uptight, because they all look like engineers and not marketers. I mean, I'm very sure if it was this guy, the Udolu guy, that had come in with this offer, even though, I mean, if you look at Udolu, he came in, his business also was at the early stage. He just had an idea prototype, sort of, and of course, he had 2 lions who were even fighting for him. So I just felt like the reason why Broello did not get any investment was not because it was a side hustle or it was too early. I feel they were not savvy enough. They did not understand the negotiation ground. They didn't understand where to come in, where to say, okay, you know what, we're willing. This is why we came in here to pitch. Like, that business looked like a business that, of course, would have a very high turnover if they were able to secure a deal. This is just my honest opinion about Chidera and Obina's business. I think they should just go and learn how to be more savvy when it comes to marketing gimmicks, and, having that boldness to, stand negotiation ground and not be too timid. I mean, literally, you're coming into something where money is involved. You have to be a bit more in it and out of your, timid lifestyle, whatever. But I feel that business looked like a good deal. But it was quite unfortunate they didn't get any deal. The 4th business I came to pitch was Jabal. And this business, So the 4 lions had a share. They had their taste buds satisfied, because, of course, this entrepreneur knew his onions. He gave them some chicken to have a feel. Tunde, I would say, Tunde was really smart. He was just that well-spoken person who was quite careful with what he was saying. He wasn't like trying to rush everything over what he was saying. He had his facts right. So he pitched his business. He said he was running a chicken business, Jabal business. And he said, I started 2017. And of course, 2020, that's 4 years in business. He talked about needing, I think he was asking for 7.5 million naira for, of course, guys, they always say 10% equity share. But it was asked for 7.5 million for 10% equity share. And, the questions came in. In fact, at the end of Olatunde's presentation, I think most of they were very, very, very impressed. But there was this question that they asked. The question was, how would you share the money? How, if we give you the 7.5 million, what would you use it for? He talked about branding, he talked about buying a car, and he said the car was worth 3.5 million. That was where the shocker came, like 3.5 million. I felt that amount was too small, he was trying to be very, very modest with his estimation, which is one of the reasons why I feel these lions look at it like, okay, this person is not coming to just cut our neck and say, okay, invest these huge amounts. I think that was a mistake the first entrepreneur made. I don't know, but I just feel like maybe she overestimated her business. I mean, asking for a wood business, 20 million, I felt like it was too big, it was too much, it was too priced. Maybe if she had asked for a smaller amount, maybe she would have gotten it. But anyways, Olatunde pitched for 7.5 million naira for a 10% equity share. He had, like, from everything, he had about 22 stores or 23 stores where his product was currently sold. His business looked good. He was asked what he had read. He said he was a civil engineer, and I was like, okay, this civil engineer is definitely different from Broello, the in Nigeria we saw. He was, even though didn't look like the marketer, he was just gentle and well poised. And there was this question about Dan, when Dan asked the question about, okay, you're doing, what wood do you use to prepare? I think Kiara asked that question. And then he said that, and then that was what inspired Dan from asking this question, that, okay, you're smoking, you're burning, you're polluting the environment with your chicken grilling and everything. What are you putting back, from what you're taking away from? So Dan talked about carbon footprint. He was talking about, okay, they needed to plant a tree, do that, just to create an impact. And guys, that's the other thing I'm trying to tell you in this Lions Den. At that instant, Olatunde was like, okay, you know what? This is even what I don't know about. This is where I need mentorship. I don't even mind mentorship, in my business. And that was when he stole the hearts of the Lions. Like, being vulnerable to say, okay, you know what? I don't know this, and I'm willing to have mentors. He said, in fact, he was willing to have mentors. That was the reason why he came into the show. Guys, if you can remember in the episode 1, we had Essie talk about willing to have mentors in his business. He was able to buy the Lion's heart into investing 40 million into his business, which was a big one. Of course, there was counter offers too, guys, if you can remember, and he ended up going in with his deal. So the same thing happened here. This guy was like, okay, you know what, I'm willing to learn. This is why we want mentors into the business, and that was it. Kiara and Mrs. Adenike and Bolaji were these 3 entrepreneurs who decided to offer Olatunde more money. He was asking for 7.5 million for 10% equity share. At the end of the day, they decided to offer him 12 million naira for a 33% equity share, amongst the 3 lions. That's 11% for each lion. And then Mr. Dan came with his offer of, okay, you know what, I'm going to give you all the money you want. I'm going to give you the 7.5 million and I'm going to get 25%. I'm going to let you run your business the way you want to run it. At the end of the day, this was the 2 offers on the table. Are you going to go for 7.5 million for 25% equity share, or are you going to go for 12 million naira for 33% equity share? Of course, guys, you know which one now. The guy said he was there for mentorship. He needed some kind of impact into his business. So Mr. Dan's concept of it, of coming into his business, was not really what he was looking for. And I think that was the reason why he turned down Mr. Dan's offer and went ahead to go for Bolaji, Mr. Denike, and Dan's offer. At the end of the day, he ended up going to the 3 lions. He got 12 million naira, guys. He was asking for 7.5 million, and he ended up having, I think, 20% more of the money he was asking for. Even though the equity was at 33%, which was a little higher than what he wanted, but I mean, it was a big deal and it was a done deal at the end of the day. But I mean, the fighting, I have never seen an entrepreneur where people are actually trying to debate over, argue over, and fight over. I mean, Kiara and Dan fought over it. We could see Mrs. Adenike calling him like, look at me, don't get confused. That was very, very laughable. But guys, at the end of the day, we saw 2 entrepreneurs out of 4 entrepreneurs secure a deal. and there are so many lessons to this. And one of the very, very interesting thing I need to point out is Kiara said something about today's business being in the early stage. I'm like,
your business is too early.
Like early stage. Business that started in 2017, business that is already selling 23 stores and all that. I mean, they're still calling it early. Hey, I mean, if they can call a business like Olatunde's business, Jabal Glazed Chicken, a small business, an early business, then how much more a business that started 1 month earlier? So there is so much to learn from this business. And guys, I would say at this point, I think one of the reasons why this lions feel a business is not investable is because of majorly these 3 reasons I have noticed. They say it's too small to invest, it's not scalable. And I think most times when they say it's not investable, it's not scalable, is when it's a trading business. We noticed that the Crochet business was a trading business, so they don't really like offers like that. And then the other one is when you don't have prototype, because look at Mr. Dan's business. Mr. Dan's offered like analysis to Udolu. Was like, this is a prototype. There's nothing in down there already, so I'm not even ready to invest in a prototype. But guys, I'm not saying that if you have a prototype business you can't get an offer, but these are one of the reasons why any of these lines will say, okay, you know what, it looks like the business is too early and we're not investing. But anyways, there's a take home message for entrepreneurs who are trying to build their businesses. I think we need to take time to listen to these facts, understand our numbers, and of course look out for the questions that these lions are going to be asking. Guys, that was everything that went down in the episode 3 of the Lion's Den. At the end of the day, I think 12 million and the 5 million naira deal was sealed, which is 17 million naira deal. Guys, it means money is on the table and money was taken home by some entrepreneurs. I'm going to see you all in another episode of the Lion's Den. Guys, if you have found value in this, please don't forget to subscribe, click on the bell icon, and of course like this video. And I'm going to see you all in my next video. For now, thank you so much, and don't forget to check out my older videos. Bye bye.